We are going live. It's taking a second. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Ladies, I'm going to give you just a moment. If you want to go ahead and share with your viewers, go ahead, do that at this moment. Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. I'm excited. Just in case you guys don't know who I am Vernita, the host of Pain to Purpose, and the proud founder of SWAT, Survivors with a Testimony in both North Carolina and Indiana. I'm a wife to an amazing husband, Mr. Howard. I'm a blessed mother of six beautiful daughters and a proud grandmother of 10 wonderful grandchildren. I'm a business owner, a woman of faith, and I serve as a minister at True Fellowship. Woo! I'm committed to empowering and supporting those who have faced life's deepest challenges. Tonight, we are honored to have two amazing women with real stories of survival, resilience, and healing. Our theme tonight is shame is not nurture, because shame is not what raises us, heals us, or defines us. Instead, we're here to uncover the truth with strength and hope. So, listen again, I want to introduce to you two amazing women that I've had the joy of knowing. And so, I would like for them to introduce themselves to you all. So, Shalina, we're going to ask you to introduce yourself first and then Shantae.
Hi, my name is Charlena Hansley. I have 5 kids, 14 grandkids, two on the way, and joyful. I love people, and I just love what I do.
All right, Shantae, can you introduce yourself to the people, please?
I am Dr. Shantae Humans, the founder of Fresh Start Consulting, where I help women in business and women in leadership perfect their communications by finding the power of their voice. I am the mother of Abigail and the bonus mother of 4 grown men doing their thing, and I love it. I am a proud business owner, um, thriving. I am a member of Survivors with a Testimony, a
Yeah.
of Queen Fix Your Crown, the visionary host of the Business Bestie Networking Experience, um, international speaker, #1 international bestseller. Uh, yeah, all those things. And I love people. I love God, and a proud member of Baldwin Branch Missionary Baptist Church.
Come on through. Listen, I told y'all I have these women are just amazing on tonight. But they're here to share their powerful stories with you all. And so we're gonna dive right on in. Y'all know how I do. I like to make sure that um the viewers have a chance. And if you have any questions, you could drop them below. The ladies are more than willing to answer your questions. So we're gonna dive right on in. So with the both of you, we are talking about tonight childhood trauma, domestic violence. We're bringing awareness. And so when you think back on your childhood, what moments stand out as a time when you realized you were not safe or protected? Either one of you can share.
Well, with me, it was the age of 8 years old, that I didn't feel protected. The things that I had to go through that made me had to grow up fast.
Mm,
And I felt myself, I want a regular 8-year old.
okay.
And
We're gonna dive more into it in just a minute. But because your story gets really, really, really deep, Shalina. So I'm not cutting you off. I just don't want you to give them everything right now. So
Mhm.
at 8 years old, you knew then, like you weren't protected the way that you needed to be.
Right.
Okay. Shantae, was there an age limit for you?
I would say probably about 5. That's when I started cooking, and that's when I really saw the domestic violence occurring. Um, it was seeing the doors being kicked down, um, grown man straddling my mother and beating her like a man.
Mm.
Um, and all I can do was watch.
Ooh. Y'all, that's a little deep. So I do have a question for both of you guys. Are you the oldest child out of the children?
I'm the
Yes.
What about you, Shantae?
I'm the middle child.
Okay. All right. And the reason I ask that because sometimes the oldest child see way more than everybody else. So, for you, what did it feel like growing up carrying adult burdens while still being a child? And Shalina, I want you to answer that one. Um, show your face. We can't even see your
Oh,
face.
I'm not in the house.
Okay.
Let me. Oh, it was rough. Had to grow up and be a mother at the age of 10. And that was hard for me because I want that but a child myself.
Mhm.
So I didn't know how to go about things. So I had to grow up fast.
Mm.
And when you're not having nobody to show you, that means you had to learn from other people.
So 8 years old, you didn't feel protected. And then at 10 years old, you have your first child.
Right,
So I want people to understand this again. I'm just going to repeat this and listen, guys. You might, once they really be able to pour out their story, listen, I'm going to tell you, you're going to want some tissue because it really gets emotional. Um, but 8 years old, so I just got to repeat this 8 years old, unprotected, 10 years old, have your first child.
yes,
And so at 10 years old, where the average child is playing, the average little girl, she's playing with her Barbies. She's thinking about her little dream house that she wants her Barbie to have, not
right,
a baby. You know
right,
what I mean? Like that's something major. So, and I don't think people understand at 10, the average child is just really beginning to dream.
right,
What is it that I want, you know, and making these make believe stories about how it's going to be when you get grown,
right,
not actually thinking at 10 I got to
right,
care for another human being.
right,
Like 10 years old, not even able to get a job.
right.
So I want people to see the real picture. Um, and so Shantae, we go back, we think about you at 5, seeing abuse in the home. Did you have to carry on any adult burdens
Yeah,
at this time?
I was left alone a lot. So I had to get myself up, go to school. A lot of times there was no adult supervision. So whenever an adult came, if they left money on the table, I took it so that I could get food. I went to the thrift store. Went school shopping for myself. Um, I had already knew how to clean a house from top to bottom, cook full meal. I had a brother that was right behind me, so I was looking after him as well, making sure that he didn't get in any trouble. And a lot of times I would try to go to relatives' house, but they would send me back home. Um,
Wow.
and it was different because I expected them to be adults and be like, "Oh, you can stay over here," and I'll figure out where your mom is. But a lot of times they were like, "Well, you can't stay here, so go back home." So I walked the streets of Reading, Pennsylvania, a lot by myself. You can. Most people don't know about it, but you can Google it. That's the city that's on the Monopoly board. It was very gang populated. Certain streets you couldn't walk on, but I found myself walking on those streets by myself at night. Um, and all I could say is that God covered me because I wasn't molested, I wasn't kidnapped, I wasn't raped. God covered me. Um,
Yeah.
and there was times where I would go home, and sometimes the lights would be off,
Mm,
but I couldn't tell nobody.
man. Ooh. So, what was it like to live in an environment where love should have been, safety should have been, but it wasn't consistent? Like, Shantae, I hear you talk about how you walked the streets at a very young age and you was blessed that nothing happened to you. But it wasn't a safe environment for a child. And then I can't even imagine walking the streets and then come home to no lights, um, or come home to where abuse is happening. What was it like for you to live in that environment?
So for a lot of people that experience abuse and their children go through it with them, they forget the fact that you some stuff is learned behavior. So during that time, I was learning how to be aggressive, learning how to fight, learning how to not love people, learning how to hide things and speaking on them, learning how to run away from pain and be embarrassed, um, be ashamed because I
Mm,
didn't know how to be anything else. I didn't see the nurturing, I didn't see the love. Um, there were different occasions where sometimes I would get a chance to go with different family members and they were saying, I love you, but that was only for a short time. When children are growing up, they need to hear I love you every day.
mhm,
Those hugs every day, even when you don't feel like it. Um, so I lack the ability to show people love. When they start trying to show me love, I shut down. I did not know how to express my feelings. Um, and there were times where I just didn't speak at all. People didn't understand, and I don't know if they knew how to ask the right questions. I didn't have the right words. There were times where I just didn't speak at all.
sorry, y'all.
People,
There we go.
because I wanted somebody to help me, but I just didn't know how to ask for the help.
Mm,
I didn't know how to say that we went through this, we're going through this, because I thought that I would get in trouble. It was what goes on in this house stays in this house. So
right.
probably until I was maybe 24. Um, And I had to go through life trying to figure out how to love people, how to allow people to love me, pick and choose my relationships. I had a hard time trying to be in a relationship when it came to a man because I was very fearful of the domestic violence. Uh,
So I'm gonna stop you right there because I want to go in your story a little more, but I'm just gonna stop you right there. Shalina, I want tell us how did it feel like to live in the environment that you was living in, where honestly there was no love and safety was not consistent. Because if you're having a child at 10, um, safety definitely wasn't there. And I'm not yeah, let's get into it.
I didn't feel love. I didn't feel safe. I was embarrassed having a child at 10, and most child at 10 will have, go outside, play and stuff, but I didn't have a childhood. I grew up that I had a child at 10 that me and my siblings, we was taken into foster care, and um kind of find out that he had molested my sister too, and so she ended up having a child with the person. But it hurts because when when you start growing up, um it's like you feel loose with yourself, that no man gonna want you because you done been molested, you done had kids, and it felt like then a man want me. I felt loose with myself, and I just felt embarrassed when I told people I had a child at 10, and they like look and like, you had a child at 10? And as older people, they talk too, but it was God that kept my mind, that I was able to carry that child full term and still finish school. I was in elementary school when I got pregnant, and I think I was in the sixth grade. I think I was in the sixth grade, and by me being the age I was, I didn't know I was pregnant. Went
Mm.
to doctor. I was already like 6 months pregnant, but God is good because I could have lost my mind. The age I am now, I really don't trust a man, and it just when somebody tell me they love me, I really don't trust it.
And so
And
what I'm hearing is this trauma affected you at a young age, but even at your age now, it's still affecting you.
right,
So a couple of things that you said, and I want to move out. I'm not rushing, but I want the audience to truly understand what is happening here. 8 years old is when you start being fiddled, fondled, and
right,
all of that. 10 years old, you have a child.
right,
And then at 11 years old, you have another child.
right,
Not only do you have two children, your sister
right,
has a child by the same person.
right,
So boundaries was definitely crossed on
right,
multiple levels. Whew. As I told y'all tonight, it's going to be a little deep, but it's going to be real. So, Shantae, at the age of 5, you walk in the streets in Pennsylvania. may come home to lights on, lights off, may come home to witnessing domestic violence. Not that you was touched yourself, but the trauma that you endured by seeing it was a lot. Am I on the right page, ladies?
It wasn't like
Yes.
So, Shalina, I heard you say that this trauma still affects you. Shantae, do you think that the trauma that you witnessed still affects you?
no, I think it has made me aware to be more conscious of my behavior because sometimes I can find myself wanting to do things that are domestic violence type because I've done things like that and it was hard for me to be in relationships. I thought the way to solve problems is that you fight.
Mm,
I didn't
my,
about sitting down having a conversation.
my. Woo. That's that's a little deep, but it's a little real. So many times survivors of abuse carry shame that it doesn't even belong to them because you can't be responsible of what another person decides to do. How do you begin separating your identity from what was done to you, whether directly or indirectly? How do you begin? Um, Before we get into that, I'm going to give it a few minutes. I want both of you to give a short of your story to the audience. Like I've kind of summed it up some, but I want you to tell them your story your way. So we'll start with Shalina.
It's with my story, it started when I was 8 years old. It was my mom boyfriend, and he would take me into the woods. To this day, um, I see that spot in my every day when I go to work, and how he just started to molest me when my mom was at work. He would drive to the woods, take me out of the car, and start molesting me. Then my mom would go to work. She work at nighttime. That he'll have me and my sister in the bed messing with us, whatever. And um, when I found out I was pregnant, found out when I was, I think at 9 years old. Like I said, I was in elementary school. Then the principal called my mom, and the teacher called talked to my mom, was saying that I was pale, and I said, how in the world can I be pale? So and by me being that age I didn't understand what was going on or nothing like that. And went to the doctor. I was 6 months pregnant. Um, I had my child at 10 years old. Let me back it up. They asked me, did I want to have an abortion with the baby? And I said no. And I ended up having my baby June 24th, 1988. That was my first child. My second child, he was born, I think I'm about 13 when I had him. And um, we went to court, and I gave my two kids up for adoption. that he wanted them to go to his side of the family, but the judge said, "Well, do you want 50 more years add on to what you got?" And so my foster parents end up adopting my kids, but my foster parents letting them know who I was to them, and they said they would never keep that from them. But to this day, my oldest one is 30, 36. My son is 34. So I have a testimony, and how God brought me out to this day. Yeah, I still have flashback, but I know God, had a reason and a plan for my life to spread what He had done for me, because it's somebody out there maybe going went through the same thing I went through. And like the atmosphere that we got now, you got people to talk to. Back then we didn't have nobody to talk to, but we got all this free access that you can talk to people. You might be scared or whatever, because I was feared for my life. But to this day, yeah, I still have flashbacks. But but the man upstairs is taking care of me.
Ooh, that's deep. Ooh, mm-mm-mm. That's all I can say is that's deep. Shantae, if you don't mind, will you share your story?
So I was born in Reading, Pennsylvania, and I am the middle child. My older sister is 11 years older than me. I have a brother that is behind me, and then I have a younger sister that is 14 years behind me. So before the younger sister came, I was the cream between the Oreo. So I was the lightest of the children. Um, and I was constantly reminded of that. I didn't understand why I was light, they was dark. Um, and my mother made it very clear that she could not stand me. She called me a red bee. I didn't understand why she felt that way. Um, and I carried that like for a long time. I had suicidal ideations. I asked God why He was letting me go through all this. He don't love me because He's letting me go through all this. Um, and I didn't understand anything about the Bible because prayer wasn't a part of the home. So I learned how to cook. I find myself staying summers with other family members and cooking for them. I had a godfather who tried to be present, but I didn't understand that he was going through his own trauma. But I just knew that I I need you right now, so I want you to come pick me up every day. But he didn't know how much I was going through because I wasn't able to vocalize that. Um, so when I seen the abuse, it created a anger in me. When I was 8 years old, we had a crime scene in our apartment. The man that's alleged father went to prison for stabbing another man, I think 10 times in our apartment. He bled out on our sofa that we had to live in after the trauma was over, after the event was over. I remember going to the police station, giving a statement. I remember going to the prison, talking through the glass. Um, I remember going to his mom's house and his mom telling me that I wasn't his granddaughter, wasn't her granddaughter. Um, I remember us having they up north they call it children's services, which is DSS. Here, we had a social worker that was active. We were on the verge of going to foster care. Before that happened, I had a family member that came to Pennsylvania from South Carolina, and I seen her while I was walking down the street, and I asked her, "Can I go back to South Carolina with you?" And she said, "Oh Lord, I gotta ask your mama." And I'm just thinking if you could find her. Um,
Mm.
so she took me to South Carolina, and I stayed there. And then I went back to Pennsylvania, stayed with my aunt. My aunt was working. She said that she couldn't take care of me and my brother because she had to work. So she sent us back to South Carolina. I went through high school. They said that my family member said that I was gonna have a baby before I graduated high school. Um, they said that I wasn't gonna finish college. They said that um, I wasn't going to be about anything. They sheltered me from crying. One of my aunts told me that I shouldn't let other people see me cry. I didn't understand why, so I didn't cry. So I held all my feelings inside. So I had to work really hard to accomplish things because I had to beat the odds. So today, as I speak to you right now, I can proudly say I am the generational curse breaker.
Okay.
Everything that they said I was, and a little bit more, because I am above and not beneath, the head and not the tail.
Right.
So all those things that they spoke over my life, I beat the odds.
That's right. And what I like about both of you is, you know, as we talk about shame is not nurture, most people are ashamed of everything they've been through. And I do know that it's really hard to come and publicly tell your story, but it's yours. And can't nobody tell it the way that you do. People will say, well, you shouldn't feel that way. You have a right to feel the way that you feel. These are your feelings and they are valid. So I want to state that these are your feelings, they are valid. And as we stated, shame is not nurture. So you can't nurture that shame because when you begin to do that, the enemy will start playing with your mind.
Right.
And he don't have a playground for you, for me, and for anybody that's watching. Um, I have to keep myself together because when I'm thinking about a 5 year old, being a grandmother with a 5 year old and an 8 year old, you know, I'll go to bat for what is mine. Um, and what I am so proud of both of you is you don't allow what statistics or what the would say that you should be ashamed of. Statistics would say, well, you should be ashamed of how you grew up. You should be, you should be ashamed to show the struggle. No. Shame keeps you silent. And on today, we openly speak out about what we've been through. I couldn't imagine at 10 years old having to care for a baby. Not a baby alive, but a real baby that's living, breathing, you know. Um, and so I say to both of you, like I commend you for being open and ready, to share your testimony. The Bible tells us your testimony is your delight. Your testimony gets others through what someone may be going through. And so with that being said, how have you redefined nurture for yourself? Outside of the pain and the abuse you endured, how do you redefine nurture? Either one of you can answer.
Well, with me, I read the Bible. That's gonna keep me focused and keep me focused and keep my mind off of it because, like I said, God had brought me from a long ways. And like I tell people, you don't know what this heart is going through. I may smile, but you don't know what this heart done been through. And I really find myself talking to other people, and I may not come live with it on Facebook or anything, but I do tell my story to other people, and that's how I refine myself. And I get joy because I'm telling other people about my story, that what I done been through. And they say, well, you helping me out. I didn't know you went through all of that. And that's how I find my strength, by helping other people, telling them my story. Hey, this is what I went through at the age of 8. Had my first child at 10. And they're like, you don't even look like what you done been through. I said, if you only knew. And that's how I refine myself, you know, helping somebody else, telling my story to somebody else.
Ooh, that's deep. Shantae.
I can say the same thing as Miss Shalina. I don't look like what I've been through. Um, I have redefined myself by creating that nurturing, remembering that I am a child of God. Remember that my circumstances don't define me. Remembering that I create the narrative of my life. I'm the leader of my life. Um, so I try to always have a positive attitude, always create positive experiences with people that I encounter because you never know what people are going through. Just a hello can change someone's day. Um, because I remember those dark times where I was walking around with a frown on my face and God would plant strangers in my sight to tell me, it takes more energy to frown than it does to smile. What you looking like that for? I wasn't strong enough to tell them, you don't know what I've been through. All I could do was just say, okay, and turn it into a smile. So each and every time I have an experience with somebody, I try to encourage them and be positive so that they know that your circumstances do not define you. Somebody
Mm,
do something bigger than you. And the pastor said in church, um, I've been through too many storms to worry about the raindrops. And I can
Mm.
testify to that. I've been through too many storms to worry about the raindrops. I don't worry about people not liking me. I don't worry about people talking about me because God got me. They talked about Jesus and look at all what he's done for us.
exactly. So when you both of you have advocated and are for advocating on domestic violence. Um, and I'm so glad that you did not allow it to define or who you are. And so, if you could speak to your younger self, that young girl that didn't feel love, that young girl that didn't feel nurtured, that young girl that didn't feel protected, that young girl that was ashamed of everything that she was going through. If you could speak to that young girl right now, what would you say to her?
I would say,
Well,
I would say, Shantae, I love you. You are more than enough. You're beautiful. You are whoever you want to be. Don't be afraid. You're going to go through storms, but God got you. No matter
Mm.
what. Trust in the Lord. He's always going to be by your side.
And Shalina, what would you say to that younger you? That little girl that didn't feel loved, that little girl that didn't feel protected, that little girl that was taken advantage of. What would you say to the younger you?
I would say, Shalina, I love you. Dish yourself off because God has better for you than
Mm,
what you went through. And that I love myself.
mm,
Back then, I didn't love myself. But as today, I can say I love myself. And God, I believe my heart, God would say, dust yourself off because you better now than you was when you want love, when you want nurture. But I got you now.
So both of you have children and both of you have daughters.
Yes.
With what you've seen in your home and what you went through, did it make you overprotective of your children?
Yes. It made me protective of all four of my girls. Um, even though they grown now, um, even though they grown now, I'm still very protective of them. Even down to my grandgirls. I'm very protective because I always talk to them that I don't want y'all to go through what I went through. And I
Mm,
said I have been through some stuff. I have been through some relationships that, with a man or whatever. But I said I don't want y'all going through what I went through. And yes,
mm.
I'm very, very protective. Very. You can ask my baby girl, Rihanna. I'm very, especially her, I'm very protective.
And you have every reason to be. And what about you, Shantae?
It's even harder for me because I worked in the prison.
Oh,
And
Lord.
Mm,
working in the prison and having the opportunity to actually read some of the crime versions, to know that everybody that smiles ain't good. Uh, so
mm,
it made me have a sense of watch out for them. Everybody that's smiling in your face ain't for you. So I'm
mm,
very cautious. I pay attention to how people are looking at my baby, the things that they say about my baby, because I know that predators exist.
right.
Predators exist.
Ooh, listen, as an advocate for domestic violence, um, I know that it's hard, but I can tell you that your stories empower others. And it really helped others to understand that, no matter what you see, no matter how I look now, um, I had to go through a lot to get to where I am. And so, um, I just want to say thank you both for taking your time out tonight. I thank you for your courage. I thank you that on tonight you've shown us that trauma and abuse don't have the final say, that shame is not nurture, and healing is possible. And as we speak about healing, what coping skills have you taken to heal? Like, what do you do? What was some of the steps that you took? Have either of you had therapy? What did you do for your healing journey? Shalina, I think you're talking, but you're on mute. Let me see if I can help you. If I can unmute you. I can't. You're still muted. All right, Shantae, because she's still muted. What did you do for your healing journey?
Um, I've always been a writer, so anytime I felt something bothering me, I wrote it down. A lot of times I didn't talk about my feelings. I have journals and journals and journals of poems that I would write when somebody made me mad, they made me sad, they made me happy, because that's where I found my relief. I didn't know anything about therapy. When I was coming up, all I heard was black people don't go to therapy. So that wasn't anything that I thought of in my adulthood. Now I feel like um the trauma doesn't own me anymore. At one point I
Mm.
was in bondage. My life was centered around the trauma. I acted out because of the trauma. Now I don't do that. The trauma is not overtaking me. Um, I'm allowing myself to live, allowing myself to breathe, allowing myself to be. I think that when I was able to write about the trauma in a book on different occasions, it gave me a sense of freedom because I no longer had to hide behind what I went through. And I showcased it for the world to read about it. I felt like when I was hiding behind it, I was in a stage of shame. I felt guilty, like I didn't do anything about it. Um, but when I released it, I let go of those feelings and I no longer feel that way. I no longer allow myself to be drugged back into feeling bad about what happened to me because it already happened. There's nothing I can do to change it. But what I can do is free somebody else.
Right. And what about you, Shalina? You're healing.
What I pray, um I stay around the water to get my healing, and that's what soothes me. This staying around the water, staying in my word, talking to other people that may have been through the same thing I've been through. And, this spend time with family when you can. And this what soothes me. Because sometimes people can bring negative vibe, or like Shantae said, they can bring up your past.
Hmm.
And like I tell people, everybody got a past. It's not good. But, when you bring up my past, what I went through, that cuts, deep with me, because, it wasn't fun getting pregnant and having a child at 10 and 13 years old. That wasn't fun. I didn't have a childhood. I had to grow up. And, to these kids now that do have a childhood, you know, I didn't get no chance to have a childhood. I didn't at all. I had to hurt, be be a mom. So
Right.
I didn't get a childhood.
And so with healing, there's still areas that you still need to heal in.
Right,
And I will say to you, as Shantae say, a lot of times they say, in the black community, oh, you go get therapy, you crazy now. I will tell you, if you can get therapy, get it.
right,
Listen, I'll tell everybody, I fired 29 and it won't all them. A lot of it was me. But when you go look for a therapist, you look for a therapist like you do your heart doctor. You're not going to
right,
go to an eye doctor to work on your heart, and you're not going to go to a heart doctor to work on your eyes. So the same thing with therapy. If you have not, I suggest anybody who can to get therapy. But I want to say to you ladies, thank you so much. I do have one more question. But before I ask you that question, I do want to say this to you. I want to say this to anyone that is viewing on tonight. I'm listening to you, and I kind of knew your stories. And so sometimes you have to remind those that you care about that they are somebody. And so I named this I Am Somebody. I am not the bruises nor the silence that tried to cage me in. I'm not the whispers of shame, nor the storm that broke around my skin. I am the breath that still rises, the heartbeat that will not cease. I am the voice that finds its strength in brokenness. I find release. I am somebody worthy of love, worthy of peace. I am somebody. My soul refuses to decrease. No matter the abuse, I am not erased. I carry the crown of survival. I stand in my rightful place. For I am somebody, bold, unshaken, and free. The pain was a part of my story, but I will never allow it to define me. So I want to say to you ladies, thank you so much because with everything that you've been through, you never let it define who you are. But even in the midst of it, God is still writing your story. And so I just want you to know that I do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to share with our viewers on our podcast and bring awareness to childhood abuse and domestic violence. And your stories are proof that resilience and love can grow in the hardest places. When I think of your stories and I think of you, I look at how you've grown into some amazing women. Your childhood didn't define who you were. And to anyone listening, remember, your past does not define your worth. You are more than enough. And so, ladies, I just need you to give our viewers a word of encouragement from each of you. Shalina, you can go first. Shantae Stone.
My word for encouragement, if you're going through something in your home or you being molested or anything, tell somebody. If the parent don't want to listen, go to the authorities and let them know that you've been touching the wrong area and you don't feel comfortable. Just tell somebody where you won't have to go through what I went through.
All right. Shantae.
I say to all the young girls who don't look like me, you are beautiful. You are more than enough. Don't allow other people to create your narrative for you because you are the leader of your life and you are who God says you are. He created you in his perfect image while you were in your mother's womb. So everything that you are destined to do, you will do. Don't let people stop you from being great because they will try to inflict their fears onto you and don't allow them to do that. Be great on purpose because the sun does shine again.
Yes. So, do either of you have a business? If you do, could you drop your information? Shantae, I know you have a business. Shalina, do you have a business?
Not at this time, but I'm working on it.
Okay. So, Shantae, can you tell the people how to contact you, a little bit about your business and what it is that you do?
My business is Fresh Start Consulting. God gave me the vision on my sick bed. Shortly after I gave birth, I got COVID. I have asthma. So that interfered with my breathing. And I prayed and I asked God, if you let me live, I'm going to do whatever you want me to do. He gave me the vision. I tried to alter what he gave me, but he sent me right back to what he wanted me to do. So I want to help other women who want to be great leaders, who are in business and they're struggling with their communications because I know what it's like to not be heard, not be understood. We're going to dive into being a better communicator. I have an 8-week program for women in leadership, women in business. You can contact me on social media, all things Dr. Shantae Humans, some things just Shantae Humans. I have a website, it's www.freshstartconsulting.biz. Just reach out to me. If I
And
can't,
she'll drop that information in the chat um on social media, so that they can locate you. Listen, I want to say to anyone, ladies, thank you so much for tuning in tonight, taking a time out just to share with the audience your stories, telling it your way. I thank God that He spared each of you, that you're here telling your story, and we don't have to read about it and tell somebody else about it. I thank God for that. So I do want to say to any viewer that's watching on tonight, if you are in a domestic violence situation, listen, there are ways that you can get out, but I want you to do it safely. Do not tell your abuser that you're planning on leaving them. You might not make it out. Listen, that is not something that I take lightly. Also, you can also get a protection order. An ex parte is an um, emergency protective order. I do want you to understand your protective order is a piece of paper. So you do have to change up your routine. There are things that you need to prepare if you are planning on leaving your abuser. Make sure you have copies of your important documents. Take them somewhere, store them somewhere where you can have them. Have extra clothes already packed. Listen, these things are important. Make sure you have your doctor's numbers, the children's doctor's numbers, the children's birth certificates, their socials. Make sure you have all of that information because in order to get help once you leave, they're going to need legal documentation showing. Listen, just because a person does not hit you, do not mean that they're not abusing you. There are many forms of abuse. There's financial, there's emotional, there's psychological, there's mental, listen, sexual, spiritual, listen. So learn about what abuse is. Listen, and I do want to make this clear because sometimes I have to give this disclaimer. A lot of people say, "Oh, my husband is financially abusing me." Listen, if you don't pay your bills and you'll go shopping, no, you're financially abusing your household because you're not taking care of what you need to. So make sure that you truly understand what you're saying. But listen, if you ever find yourself that you need to get out of the situation, reach out to SWAT. If you're in North Carolina, if you're in Indiana, North Carolina, www.survivorswithatestimony.org. If you're in Indiana or surrounding areas, www.swatindiana.org. Listen, we're here to help. Our team is here. We will help you create your safety plan. If we cannot help, we will link you to resources that can. I want you all to be blessed. Ladies, again, thank you so much for tuning in, taking the time out of your night to tune in with our viewers and just tell your story. You all be blessed and have an amazing night.